Millionaire finds his maid hiding to eat leftovers. What happened next will break your heart. The grand clock in the marble foyer of Charles Thorne's penthouse struck midnight, its chime echoing through the silent, opulent space like a lonely heartbeat. Charles, returning late from a charity gala he'd hosted, irony lost on him, felt a familiar hollowness beneath the tailored tuxedo. He craved a glass of water, perhaps a sliver of the untouched truffle cake from the dessert table. He padded towards the cavernous kitchen, expecting only the hum of the sub-zero fridge. Instead, he froze in the arched doorway. There, hunched over the stainless steel island under the dim glow of a single under-cabinet light, was Elena, his quiet, efficient maid of 3 years. Her shoulders were slumped, her usually neat bun slightly askew. In her hands wasn't a cleaning cloth, but a chipped porcelain bowl, his discarded bowl from dinner. She was spooning cold, congealed remnants of the lobster bisque he'd barely touched, her movements furtive, almost ashamed. She hadn't heard him enter. Charles' first instinct was irritation. Protocol, boundaries. He paid her well, didn't he? More than the agency rate. Why was she eating his scraps like some stray? He cleared his throat, sharp and deliberate. Elena jerked as if electrocuted. The spoon clattered into the bowl, splattering bisque on the pristine counter. Her face, usually a mask of calm competence, crumpled into pure, raw terror. She scrambled back, knocking over a stack of clean glasses. They shattered on the floor like ice. "Mr. Thorne, I'm so sorry." Her voice was a choked whisper, tears already welling in her dark eyes. She dropped to her knees, frantically trying to gather the shards, her hands trembling violently. I was just cleaning. I didn't mean to. I'll replace them, I swear." The sight of her, small and broken on the cold marble floor amidst the glittering wreckage, struck Charles like a physical blow. The irritation vanished, replaced by a cold wave of shame. He saw not a rule breaker, but a woman radiating exhaustion and fear. He remembered the untouched gourmet meals delivered daily for his staff. Meals Elena always meticulously packed away, claiming she preferred to eat later at home. He'd never questioned it. "Elena, stop," he said, his voice rougher than intended. He knelt beside her, ignoring the glass. "Don't cut yourself. Look at me." Reluctantly, she raised her tear-streaked face. The vulnerability in her eyes was staggering. "Why?" Charles asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. "Why eat the leftovers? I provide meals. You know that." Elena swallowed hard, her gaze dropping to the floor again. The meals are for me, sir, but my son, Matteo, he's sick, very sick. The hospital, the medicine, it costs so much, more than I can manage even with your generous pay. I send almost everything home. Eating what you leave behind, it means I can send a little more for his medicine, just a little more." The words landed like stones in Charles' gut. His leftovers, his untouched bisque, while a child, the son of the woman who kept his world running smoothly, suffered. He thought of the obscene amount he'd spent that very evening on vintage champagne for guests who barely sipped it. He thought of the untouched caviar, the mountains of gourmet canapés destined for the bin. Guilt, sharp and corrosive, flooded him. He'd been blind, comfortably, arrogantly blind in his gilded cage. "Elena," he said, his voice thick with an emotion he rarely allowed himself. "Get up, please." He helped her to her feet, his hand surprisingly gentle. He ignored the glass, ignored the bisque-stained counter. "Where is Matteo? Which hospital?" "St. Vincent's. Pediatric oncology." She whispered, bewildered. Charles didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone, his fingers moving with decisive speed. He called his personal physician, a man who owed him several favors, then his head of security, then his private driver. Within minutes, he had arranged for Matteo to be transferred to the city's top private children's hospital with the best oncologist on retainer. He authorized immediate, full payment for all past and future medical expenses, no questions asked. Elena stared at him, disbelief warring with desperate hope. "Mr. Thorne, I can't accept. It's too much." "You will accept," Charles stated, his tone leaving no room for argument, though his eyes were suspiciously bright. "Consider it an advance, or a bonus, or simply what should have been done long ago." He paused, the weight of his own obliviousness pressing down. "And Elena, from tonight on, you eat with me, at the table. Whatever I have, you have. No more hiding, no more scraps." The tears flowed freely now, but they were different. Not tears of shame, but of overwhelming, disbelieving relief. "Thank you, sir," she choked out. "Thank you. For Matteo." The next morning, Charles didn't go to his office. He went to St. Vincent's. He met Matteo, a small boy with huge, tired eyes and a shock of dark hair, hooked up to IVs, but smiling weakly when Elena introduced the kind man who's helping. Charles sat by his bedside, not as a billionaire, but as a man finally seeing the world beyond his own reflection. He held the boy's thin hand, promising quietly to be there. Weeks turned into months. Matteo's treatment was grueling, but under the best care, hope flickered. Elena, freed from the crushing weight of financial terror, blossomed. She still worked for Charles, but the dynamic had irrevocably shifted. They shared meals, real conversations. Charles learned about her village in Guatemala, her dreams for Matteo. He learned the true cost of his own comfort. One evening, as they sat together in the now warm kitchen, Matteo home, recovering, coloring at the table, Charles looked at Elena, no longer just his maid, but a friend who showed him the hollowness of his wealth without compassion. He saw the quiet dignity that had always been there, obscured by his own privilege. He hadn't just saved a boy's life that night in the kitchen. He'd saved a piece of his own soul. The leftovers hadn't been scraps. They'd been a mirror, reflecting a truth money couldn't buy. That true wealth lies not in what you hoard, but in what you give, especially when no one is watching. And sometimes the most profound changes begin not with a grand gesture, but with the simple, heartbreaking sight of someone eating your discarded soup in the dark. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, share, and subscribe to ACA Storytales for more emotional stories. Your support helps us spread hope to millions. Thanks for watching.